Hey, I'm Kelly Williamson with Magnolia Inspections.
And I'm James Brantley with Magnolia Inspections. And today we're going to be performing a mock home inspection at Kelly's home. Kelly recently purchased a fixer-upper home, and we're going to do a small home inspection for her. So sit back and relax and enjoy the inspection. Okay, now I'm going to inspect this front porch. So I'm going to walk around. Again, I'm looking for trip hazards. I'm looking for the spacing between these little spindles here. It's recommended that the spacing not be any more than 4 inches. It can be a safety hazard for small children. So let's see, I'm walking around, I'm looking for any rotten wood. Let's see here, come on, looking for the steps. So we have handrails, anything over 4 steps requires a handrail, so we're good there. So I come up here, and so the handrail is nice and secure. Oh, there's a light fixture missing up here, or a light bulb missing there. So we're checking this electrical outlet here. It's got an outdoor weather-tight cover plate, and that's all good. So they're very nice. We like to also mention the positive attributes in a home too. This home is wrapped in vinyl siding and aluminum trim, so it will not require any painting. So just annual pressure washing. Okay, right now what I'm looking at is the cracks in the driveway. You can see where there's trip hazards, and a lot of times it's caused by overgrown trees. There's a tree right behind Kelly here that's probably 100 years old. This particular house is in the Fondren area, and what happens is the roots grow up underneath the driveway and lift up and put pressure on the concrete and breaks it, and it can cause trip hazards. So we put that in the report and recommend that the homeowner have it repaired. Okay, now what I'm looking at is I'm on the right side of the house, inside the driveway. Again, I'm looking for trip hazards, any place that someone can trip and fall. Because the home was built in 1945, I'm wanting to look for any evidence of any cast iron piping. It was very common in houses built before 1978. Homes their drain sewer lines were constructed of cast iron. And cast iron can corrode over the years and cause issues with drainage. So I'm looking here at this sewer clean out here, and it looks like it is PVC. So I kind of want to assume that the main sewer lines from the house to the street have been upgraded to PVC, which is really good for Kelly, definitely, for sure. So another thing I'm looking at is vegetation growing around the house. This all looks just fine. The exterior vinyl siding looks really good. The windows look fine. There's no cracked windows, no broken windows. Again, the fascia trim is all covered with aluminum, so it's not going to rot. I'm looking at the roof here. I do see some debris on the roof, some limbs. It's not real bad right now. It will need to be cleaned out at some point. Another thing I'm looking at on the roof is any evidence of any broken shingles, and we will be getting up on the roof later. So at Magnolia Inspections, we do climb every single roof that we can, that we feel safe on. Another thing on the roof that we're looking at is the plumbing vent pipes, the little black rubber boots flashing around it to make sure that it's intact and not going to cause any water leaks into the roof. Another thing we're looking at is ventilation. So if you look at the top, you'll see these turbine vents. They're oftentimes called whirlybirds, and this is for the ventilation for the attic, to make sure the attic is cool. If you don't have adequate attic ventilation inside your attic, it will cause your attic to be too hot and have too much humidity, and it will cause premature wear of your shingles, and also make it more difficult to cool your house in the summertime. So, okay.
James, what are you looking at outside now?
Okay, what I'm focusing on right now is the overhead power wires that are coming from Energy. So you can see up here on the left, the power. The main service entry wire comes in from this pole here and comes through, and the wiring is in contact with tree limbs. And that's a safety issue, because if any of the power wiring becomes frayed, it can energize tree limbs, and if the homeowner touches the tree limbs, they can get shocked. So what we're going to recommend that they contact the local power company, which in this case is Energy, and they will come out free of charge most of the time, and usually really quick. They'll come out and trim the limbs away from the power line. Okay. Okay, now I'm looking at the little walkway path to the deck here. There's some uneven areas here. We're mainly just educating the client on homeownership and what to look out for to be safe. So I'm going to look at the deck here. I'm looking at the steps. I'm looking for any water damage, any deterioration of the wood. I'm looking at the spacing. I've already measured it, and it looks like it's all within that 4-inch minimum area there, spread there. Another thing I'm looking at here is I've noticed that there's some water damage here on some of these deck boards here. There's some damage here. As a matter of fact, there's a large hole here that's damaged here. So more than likely, most of the boards in this area are going to have to be replaced. There's some water damage along the deck on the hand railing here. So one of the things we always recommend is pressure washing and sealing your deck on a regular basis, at least every 2 years. Pressure wash it really well, and then seal the wood with a good sealer like Thompson's water sealer, and that'll help preserve the wood on the exterior and help prevent it from rotting and deteriorating over the years. Okay, now what I'm looking at is just a little bit of a concern right here is the grade, the slope of the grade toward the foundation. So this house has a conventional type foundation or a crawl space type foundation, and anytime there's a negative grade or negative slope toward the foundation, that can cause rainwater runoff to go into the crawl space, which can lead to issues with moisture damage and possible mold. You don't want any water in the crawl space at any time. Crawl space needs to be dry and free of any water. So we are going to recommend that Kelly talk to somebody about having possibly a French drain installed in this area, or have somebody give her some ideas about how to correct the drainage in this area. Okay, what I'm looking at right here is a settling crack. See this crack right here? If this was on a standard brick home, I would be more concerned about it. This is a conventional foundation home, and it was built in 1945. This is a perimeter wall. All of the weight of the structure is not on this perimeter wall. The majority of all the weight on this structure is on the piers, support piers that are inside the crawl space. That's what's carrying the weight of all the material. And since the house was built in 1945, it's not unusual to see cracks like this. So when we see cracks like this, we usually recommend repair, but it does not always point to a problem with the structure of the home. Okay, now what I'm looking at is the fencing around the perimeter of the yard. As you can see, there's some damaged fencing here. So if you have, if the homeowner has animals, which in this case Kelly does, probably going to want to have that fence repaired so your animals don't get outside. Another thing I'm looking at this is an old tree stump here, and you know,
They got creative.
Yeah, they got creative. Just left it there, so it's really not hurting anything. It's not anywhere near the house. It's just a dead stump, and the fencing goes up against it, and it's fine. Right here, to your right there, Kelly, there is an old tree here. And it's probably been here for, 100 years probably, but it's away from the house. It's not, there's no big dead limbs or anything that's causing any concern about falling on the roof. So let's walk around to the left side of the house, which we're in the backyard. This would actually be the right side if you're facing the house in the front, it'll be the left side. So, and before we go over here, let's take a look at this opening here underneath this deck. You really want to have these openings underneath decks closed off to prevent possums and armadillos and raccoons and other animals and snakes from going up underneath there. So you want to have it closed off. So there's the dog's hotel right here.
You gonna inspect that house?
Oh, this is a really nice. I'm not going to inspect this one. Wait a minute. Yes, I will. There's a broken shingle right here. So, and there's a lot of debris on the roof. So I think the dogs would really appreciate having the roof cleaned off. All right. So let's see here. All right. So here is the crawl space opening right here. So we're going to recommend having the door replaced. So you don't want to have any access here where any animals can get inside here. So there's a clothes dryer vent. We always test the clothes dryer vent and make sure that it's okay. And this is the outside air conditioner. This is a package unit which is commonly used on houses with conventional foundations with crawl spaces. So basically, it's the heating and air conditioning unit all in one, and the ductwork is routed up underneath the house. So we've already checked this unit out, and we do recommend having it cleaned and serviced. I think this unit is approximately 15 years old. So we always let our clients know anytime the unit reaching about 12 years old, because units that are reaching about 12 years old tend to start having more problems. So, but regardless of the age, heating and cooling units really need to be serviced on an annual basis. Okay, what we're looking at now is the electrical service entry, which we've already talked about, the overhead wiring coming in from the street with the service power wires that contact the tree limbs. You can see where the service wiring comes in, it enters the masthead up here at the top, and comes down, and this is the electric meter right here. And right here is your main disconnect. So this turns all the power off right here. It is a manual disconnect. A lot of times houses just have a manual breaker. This has a disconnect switch, and that's okay. So another thing we're looking at is for service grounding. So what we're looking at right here is the number 6 copper wire, and we follow that and to make sure that it's connected to an earth ground rod, which you can see right here. See this ground rod right here. This ground rod is supposed to be driven around between 6 and 7 feet in the ground and clamped to this wire, and this helps protect the electrical system in case of a power surge or electrical lightning strike and so forth. So there's a lot of things that we look at to make sure that the house is safe. Okay, what I'm looking at here, Kelly, is the gas meter here. And we always check it out for gas leaks. A lot of times we walk around and we'll smell these gas leaks here. And if we detect any gas leaks, we'll just recommend they contact the local gas company, and they'll come out free of charge and make the repairs. Okay, now what we're looking at is the exterior door in the back. So what we noticed was the weather stripping when the door closes. The weather stripping was not making contact with the door, and there was a gap around the door. So what was allowing was air to leak from the inside of the house, and it can allow mosquitoes and other bugs to come inside the house. So what she did temporarily was she had some sealant installed right here around the door. That's just a temporary fix. So what's going to need to happen is on the inside where the hinges are. The hinges are going to need to be adjusted outward so the door will close like it's supposed to. So these are common things that we find on an older home. So it's a fixer-upper. So she's going to fix her up.
All right, I'm going to video James inside the crawl space, but I'm not going in there with him.
Hey everyone, hey, I'm inside the crawl space, and what we're looking for is a moisture barrier. When we performed the original inspection, she did not have a moisture barrier, or if she did, it was almost no moisture barrier at all. So the purpose of a moisture barrier is to help control ground moisture. So each day, moisture inside the soil evaporates, and when it evaporates, the moisture goes upward, and it can damage and cause mold to grow in the subflooring, and it can cause a lot of other moisture related issues. Another thing we're looking at is the ductwork inside the crawl space, and we're looking at the plumbing, the pipes, the support piers that we talked about earlier that helps support the weight of the structure. So as you can see here, I'm not going to go all the way in this crawl space again, but you can see that a lot of the plumbing has been upgraded from cast iron to PVC, which is very good because when the house was originally built, it was built with cast iron and galvanized water piping. So a lot of upgrades have been made on this property. So there you have it. That is a crawl space inspection basics. Okay, now we're looking at the part of the HVAC system. Outside, we talked about the outside package unit, and here's your thermostat. Some thermostats are digital. This one's digital. There's a manual thermostat out there. This one is just fine. So everything there's no concern there at all. So it responds well when we switch it from heat to cool mode. What we're looking at down here is the filter. In a lot of the modern homes these days, your filters are in the wall or the ceiling. This was very common years ago to have the filter in the floor, and primarily because the unit, all the ductwork, as I mentioned earlier, the ductwork is up underneath the house, so it makes sense for the filter to be here. So it's very easy to access and to change. So now let's take a look at the bathroom. This particular house has one bathroom. So I move in. We always take several pictures in the bathroom. There's some switches here on the wall here, and we notice that two of them do not work, and I do believe that one of them has to do with the light fixture in that exhaust fan. So we'll let the home buyer know that one of these switches is for the light and one of them is unknown, and the other two are for the fan and for the main light. So we test the door, make sure that it's latching properly. We make sure that there's an electrical outlet near the sink, which should be ground fault protected, and it is. We check the vanity to make sure that it's secure. We'll check the drain stopper. We'll fill up the sink with water. We'll drain the sink, make sure we don't have any plumbing issues here. We'll test the toilet to make sure that it's flushing properly and that it's secure and it's not leaking, and it's not making any strange sounds. We'll test the window to make sure that it's functioning properly. In a lot of the older homes, you don't have an exhaust fan. This one has an exhaust fan. If it's an older home and it doesn't have an exhaust fan, as long as you have a functional window for ventilation, that will work. You don't have to have an exhaust fan. The next thing we'll take a look at is the tub. So we'll run water in the tub, we'll test the fixtures. A lot of times in the older homes, these fixtures will leak. We'll make sure that the shower's working. We'll make sure that there's not any holes in the tub. And because this is a crawl space type foundation, when we inspect the crawl space, we will turn on the water in the fixtures in the bathrooms and the kitchen to look for plumbing issues underneath in the crawl space. So that's the inspection of the bathroom. Okay, now we're looking at the water heater. This particular house has one water heater. It is 40 gallons, and it was manufactured in 2006. So it's about 15, 16 years old. So it's reaching the end of its useful life after about 12 years. But this particular unit right here, I can take a look at it and I can tell that it is still in very good condition and it's not showing any signs of any failure. So water heaters can last up to 20 years, 25 to 30 years. So I don't see any visible defects anywhere. This is a gas water heater and it is natural gas, so that's very important to know. If you have a liquid propane water heater, well, that runs off of liquid propane fuel, it would clearly be marked right here for that, so to make sure that this has the right fuel. Another thing that we look at the water heater, if you look at the exhaust venting, this venting at the very top of the water heater, right up underneath here, this is where the combustible exhaust of the gases, some of the gases come through, and those gases are intended to draft the air from the inside the room, come up underneath this draft hood right here, and it will naturally flow vertically up all the way through the attic to the exterior of the house. If you're missing one of these vent pipes, which sometimes we do find them missing or offset, if they're not venting properly, dangerous carbon monoxide gases can leak into the house, and it can cause very hazardous, unhealthy situations there. Another thing we're looking at on the water heater are this drain piping right here. This is the pressure relief valve. If the water heater ever overheats and needs to remove any of the steam because of it overheating, this drain pipe right here drains the water to this pan, which ends up draining to the exterior. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So it does have an overflow drain pan. So that's the basics of some of the things that we look at for the water heater. Okay, now let's talk about the attic. So this particular house right here, originally these houses only had small scuttle holes to be able to view inside the attic. This particular house has been upgraded over the years, where the opening in the ceiling was created and a pull-down ladder was created, and the part of the attic was floored. We've already been inside the attic. We're not going to go again for this video, but this attic has been completely re-insulated. So it's very nice, and it's very well insulated. A lot of problems with older homes is the inadequate insulation in the inside the attic. So if the inspector calls out low insulation in the attic, it's a good idea to have some more added for energy efficiency. The next thing we're going to be talking about in older homes, a lot of times see this little area in the ceiling right here that's square. This was originally, when the house was built, it was built with a whole house fan. And whole house fans are not used anymore. They've been replaced with actual air conditioning systems. When this house was originally built, there was some probably some window units, portable window units to use in the house. But for the most part, there was no central heating and air. It just basically, if there was any, it just couldn't be afforded. It was just too expensive back then. So everybody opened up their windows in the summertime and turned on the whole house fan, and that pulled air from the outside, and it kept everything, livable on the inside. Well, this older home has a whole house fan, and it's very unsafe to use today because the motor is old, and it's just not a good idea to use it. If you have one in your home, it's a good idea to just remove the switch and just disable the whole house fan so you cannot use it anymore, or have a licensed electrician check it out to make sure that it's okay. Okay, so that concludes the attic. Okay, now we're inspecting the bedrooms. This particular house has 2 different bedrooms. One of the things that we look for in bedrooms are smoke detectors. So as you see, this one right here has a smoke detector. There's one there, and there's one in the other bedroom. So that should be good for this particular house. As we're talking about smoke detectors, make sure that every year you change your batteries out, preferably twice a year. Beginning of the year, 4th of July is another good one, and then at the end of the year, make sure you change the batteries at least twice. For sure once, but better twice. Usually they're just 9-volt batteries. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about are the door. Make sure the doors are closed. We'll check out open up the closets, and we'll inspect those. We will test the windows. This particular house has 4 windows in this bedroom. A lot of times in older homes, these windows do not operate. They don't open and close. It's very common. What we're going to be looking for is at least one window needs to function. That way we can let our client know, the home buyer know, that this particular window works, these other 3 do not work. So it's very important to have at least one window that you can open up and get out in case of an emergency or fire. Make sure that you can get out. Another thing, these windows are original. These are single pane windows. They're not as insulated and as energy efficient as the modern two double pane low E type windows. These will sweat sometimes, and sometimes it'll cause mildew on these window sills here. So that's not anything to be alarmed about. We also test the latches to make sure that the windows will latch properly for safety. So, of course, we look at the ceilings, we look at the walls, and we make sure we don't see any other issues like roof leaks and things like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is test the air conditioning just to see if the air conditioner is cooling. Home inspectors are not licensed HVAC contractors. We're basically generalists. We have an idea about what to look for to kind of give us clues of whether or not a system is working or not. So I'm going to use this infrared temperature gun right here, and I'm going to take some measurements right here. So this is one of the air supply vents right here, and I'm going to take a measurement, and I'm getting, let's see, I'm getting around 56 degrees, 56, 57. I'm going to call it closer to 56 to me. All right, so now, well, there's another air supply vent in here too, but we'll just come right back to the return air vent, and we'll take a measurement right here, and we are 69. So 69 degrees, so that's about 13 degrees different. So the air coming into the return air is going back into the system, and it's recooled, and humidity is being cooled out through the condensation process, and also the air is coming back into the room about 13 degrees colder than what it went into the return air vent. So that gives us an idea. We usually try to find about 14 degrees difference. Today it was only 13. That's pretty close right there, so I'm happy with that. Okay, I want to point out a very interesting feature here that's very energy, can help reduce your energy in the summer and the wintertime. And this is this insulated cover here above your pull down attic access right here. So this is an insulator right here, and it's zipped up. It's got two different zippers on it, and you can have them installed. It's very easy, very simple. But it has a zipper. You can unzip it and you can access your attic. But in the summertime when it's hot, this will help insulate the hot attic air from the top part of this ladder right here. You can see right here, this is just very thin piece of plywood right here. That's all it is. And when you close this pull down attic ladder, that's the only thing between you and between the inside of the house and the attic. So this helps create another barrier to keep the hot air in the attic or the humidity, away from the inside of the house. So that's a very energy efficient factor that I wanted to share with you. Hey everyone, I wanted to share with you something that's unique and popular in a lot of the newer homes these days. What we're looking at here is a water mantle block. Water mantle blocks became popular probably about 10 years ago. As you can see here, it basically consists of plastic water lines, or PEX water lines. Blue is for cold, red is for hot, and then you have these individual circuits here. As you can see, like this one right here is set for the master bath shower hot, and this one is for the cold. So you have shutoffs underneath the fixtures in the bathrooms and the kitchens and so forth, in the exterior hose bibs, but you can also turn the water circuits off right here. So there is a key right here that you can use right here. A lot of times you'll see them connected up here on the top up here, but it's like a little wrench, and all you have to do is just put it on here and turn it off if you want to, or you just cut it right back on. So it's a safety feature. It's nice to have. This house is equipped with a main shutoff right here. So if you want to turn all the water off to the house, you can turn it off right there. Yes, it turns everything off and cut everything back on. That's a safety feature to help keep you from having to go out and look for the water meter in the front yard, open the water meter up, and face snakes and possible black widows and other creatures. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. Okay, now we're inside this electrical panel box with the cover off. And as you can see, this is the electrical sub panel. This is the wiring coming in from the outside service panel. So you see all these little circuit breakers, and all these wires are designed to carry a load of that circuit. And if that circuit becomes overloaded, it's designed to trip the breaker. So the inspector looks for wire sizing compared to the breaker sizing, and everything needs to be correct there. The bonding, the neutral wires are supposed to be floating and not touching the box, and also the grounding bus bar on this side right here, it's supposed to be bonded to the box, and in this case it's bonded with a special green screw. So right here we're looking at these breakers right here. These are special arc fault breakers. These are AFCI or arc fault breakers right here, a little bit different than these breakers right here that you find oftentimes near water. This is a GFCI. GFCI water breaker should be within 6 feet of a water source. It protects you from getting shocked anytime that you're near water. We'll have another video more on that later. But back to these breakers right here in this panel box right here, arc fault breakers. These breakers are designed to protect the electrical wiring circuit in the bedrooms. So if there's an issue with the wiring in the bedrooms, it's designed to trip these breakers here to prevent overheating of the wiring. So, but yeah, the inspector takes a good close look at the box to make sure there's no overheating and make sure that it's safe.